Hello, greetings and salutations. Welcome back to another episode, the first, mind you, for this month, February, and I'm naming this Mid-Afternoon Reset Yoga Flow for the simple fact that February is the shortest month of the year. However, I've been distracted and I'm sure you have been too. So we need to just dial it back, come back to grounded space and taking rest when we need to. So go ahead and start in a shavasana space on your back. You can express your legs, your arms, however you like. Close your eyes and breathe. As you breathe in, full body stretch. So reaching those arms behind you, extending the legs out in front of you. And as you breathe in, draw your right knee in towards your chest, hands rest as you find some motion clockwise and counterclockwise, beginning to work into our hip, the flexor, the ball joint, all components of it. Left leg stays active, so you can flex those toes towards your shin, and right ankle can roll and toes can spread. Take another breath in and guide your knee over to the opposite side. So your hips are stacked here and your arms are long. And you can look where you want. Look at one wall or the other wall, up towards skyward. If you're out in nature, even better. You can close your gaze, you can keep it open. Just feeling the sensation on the hips, allowing them to stack. And it's okay if the knee doesn't release to the earth, the floor. That's not the point. Take another breath in and begin to roll over onto your belly space. The right knee stays bent and you release your forearms to the ground. So your chest, upper half of the body is picked up here. And imagine your hips and elbows traveling towards center. That's going to lift your heart space up even more. Breathe. Notice the space. On our next breath in, reach your right hand behind your head and then lift your elbow up. Exhale, lower it back down and inhale, rise. Exhale, soften, and one more time, inhale. Exhale, release your arm back out in front of you. Now scoot your left arm out in front a little bit so you can thread your right arm behind the elbow and lower down to your shoulder. Now I want your right palm to be facing skyward or towards your ceiling. You're melting your right ear down to where maybe the earth, maybe it doesn't travel there, and that's okay. We're going to do this same thing on the other side with our left arm, but stay here for a couple more breaths. And then you're going to extend the right arm a little bit further away from you as you thread your left arm behind your elbow. Now this part is a little tricky, so listen carefully. From this space, we're going to extend our right arm out in front of us and travel it behind our head like a clock on the wall, returning back onto our back and drawing our right knee in towards our chest. Finding those circles clockwise and counterclockwise. Go ahead and extend the right leg out in front of you as you draw the left knee in towards the chest. And we'll do that same thing here on the other side. So rolling out the knee, releasing our hip, directing that breath to where you may find sensation. And taking it easy. I know this is a mid-afternoon yoga flow, so our bodies have already been up, I hope, and active. You don't have to force anything here. It's a reset for a reason. And as you breathe in, go ahead and cross your knee over your body, so over the right leg. Those hips begin to stack. And take a moment and even lift the shoulders away from the earth and soften them back down so they relax and melt in. Your gaze, your preference, where do you want to look? Or do you soften your eyes and focus on breath? Next breath in, begin to roll over onto your belly space, propping yourself up onto your elbows, your forearms. The left knee stays bent. Noticing how this space feels, drawing those elbows towards the hips towards the elbows to lift the upper body. And this time it's our left hand that reaches behind our head, lifting up the elbow up towards skyward. And exhale, soften. Inhale, rise. And lower. And lift. And lower. This time extend the right arm out a little ahead of you to thread the left arm underneath. Again, allow that palm to face open. Orientation does matter, especially in those shoulders. My shoulders, need a lot of work and love. So take care of that. Inhale, thread the left arm back to center and thread the right arm behind the left elbow. Lowering down to shoulder, maybe the cheek and ear, find the earth too. If not, find a block or a pillow. Again, tricky transition, but you're going to extend your left arm out in front of you like a clock and travel it across your head as you roll over onto your back. Drawing left knee back into chest, finding those motions clockwise and counterclockwise. Good. Rolling out the ankles, stretching through the toes. Go ahead and bring both knees in towards your chest. We're going to wrap the right leg around the left. And your grip can be on your shins. Maybe you reach outside edges of your feet or the knees, or you don't want to hold on to anything at all. No attachments. Let go, be free. We're just moving into our hip space a bit more here, and I'm beginning to find some motion rolling towards my right hip and my left hip. That feels good. And now I'm extending my legs up in the air. And I'm going to do the same thing, crossing the left leg over the right, bending at my knees. You can draw those knees towards you, finding a bind if you choose with the hand. So as you see, mine are rested on my shins. It's a little different on this side. You may experience that same thing too. Gently rolling and rocking side to side. This feels so good. Breathe into it. And inhale, release the cross. Extend those legs up. Roll out the ankles. Stretch the toes towards you, away from you. Press the low back into the earth. Begin to sweep your legs towards your face. That's going to lift your hips up a little bit here. And then bend at the knees. Tuck your hands behind there. Begin to create some momentum. So we're rocking the entirety of our spine forward and backward, pumping those legs as if we were kids on the swing set. And eventually coming to a seated meditation, resting your hands on your knees, rolling those shoulders up and away from the ears, and taking a few breaths here in this new space. We'll start to find movement in our neck here. So when you breathe in, draw your right or left ear towards your shoulder. When you exhale, let the head hang heavy in front of you. And you're going to do this at your own pace. So every time you breathe in, drawing an ear towards a shoulder, and exhaling, that head can extend back behind you or hang heavy in front of you. We'll take about 5 to 7 breaths here. We carry a lot of sensation, emotions, trauma in our shoulders and our hips, so pay particular attention. Do not force this. Listen to your body. You may even want to explore, and when you release your ear towards your shoulder, you tilt the chin up or down. And get into the jaw if it serves you by opening up your mouth, releasing the jaw left and right. Take your time. You can even stay still for a few breaths. There's no rush. Just stay with the flow of your breath. Let it be natural. No rush, but eventually being so gentle with yourself, begin to bring your head back to an upright position. Roll those shoulders up and away from the ears. We'll begin to explore a deer fawn pose. So when you're ready, as you breathe in, reach your arms over to the right and roll over your hip to bend the left leg behind you. Bent at the knee and the heel is towards the glute. Then begin to adjust or whatever you need to do once you find this space. I'm going to go ahead and grab a block. Your right shin should be parallel to your mat. So I'm going to grab that block and place it in front of my shin because my body's already telling me I'm not going to go all the way down to the earth. But before I even do that, I'm going to sit upright for a few breaths, tint my fingertips out to the sides of me, and slowly begin to walk my hands in front. I'm going to begin to find some motion here, gliding or swaying rather, side to side. We'll be here for quite some time, so make it your own. We did those neck rolls earlier, maybe you get into it again. And eventually at some point, you'll walk your hands out in front of you, beginning to hinge at the hips and folding over to your desired depth. The body will tell you where it wants to go. I say this repeatedly in all my videos prior. You'll probably hear me saying that. And it's true, because if you're forcing yourself into these postures of where you might have been yesterday or last week, even last year, we need to check in with the ego and drop that a little bit. Listen to your body. Don't overdo it. Because if you do, eventually that will cause injury, myself included. So drop the ego a little bit, honor the ask, and use your breath to your advantage. I always talk about breath in class. It's very important. It's an intentional practice. It's not a competitive sport. That's why it's called practice. Where there's no goal of where you need to be or where you need to go. Slowly begin to prop yourself back up. Roll your weight onto the right hip to sweep the back leg on top of the right for a log pose. Now, as you see, I have a lot of open space here, so I'm going to place a block in yourself. You can grab a pillow, book, whatever it might be. Or if this is too much, you can always find a seated meditation like we've been in before. Inhale, sweep the arms up overhead and tilt your gaze towards your fingertips. Breathe in and cross your right hand over towards your left knee, thigh, calf, and twist open, planting the left hand behind you and gazing over your shoulder. And gently release your twist and sweep your arms back overhead. Inhale and exhale the left hand towards your foot, ankle, calf as you twist open to the opposite direction. Begin to release the twist and sweep the arms back overhead. And exhale, draw your hands to heart center. And we're going to gently release our left leg away from our right and move into deer and fawn pose on the other side. So once you release your leg, lean your weight over onto your left hip as you sweep your right leg behind you, bending at the knee. And adjust. Take some time here to settle in. Make sure your seat is grounded too. The heel is tucked towards your glute. And I'm noticing that this side is a little different. So I'm sitting upright for a little while. And eventually you can move how you want by hinging at your hips, walking the hands forward, or walking those hands back behind you, finding a heart opener, or staying exactly as you are. There's this tendency, and I see it in my classes when I guide, that we're always so quick to fold or open or whatever it might be, that sometimes we miss how we even get into those spaces to begin with. The amount of time it takes you to get into a posture, just think for future that it should match or take longer to get out of the posture. Entry is just as important as exit. Taking a few more breaths here. I'm beginning to move my body side to side while rolling out my neck. Taking it easy, lean your weight over to the left side as you sweep your right leg out in front of you, bend and let it cross to stack on top of right leg. Adjust your seat, feel grounded. Roll the shoulders back, inhale, sweep the arms overhead, reach a little bit taller, breathe in and exhale, cross the left hand over the right knee as the right hand plants behind you. Sometimes I'd like to sweep my hand down on my leg towards my calf. It seems to kind of alternate the twist a little bit. And inhale, sweep the arms overhead and allow the right hand to release towards the left knee, twisting open, gazing over your shoulder. Releasing out of the twist. Go ahead and release your legs so your feet plant in front of you, and we're just going to drift our knees side to side, releasing out all that work we've done in the hips. You can even gaze over one shoulder or the other, depending where you drop your knees. So if I'm dropping my knees to the left, I gaze over my left shoulder, vice versa. Eventually make your way to tabletop. So you're on your hands and knees. The hips are above the knees, shoulders above the wrists, and that just naturally happens with our body. And it's stacking. We're going to take some cat-cow. So as you breathe in, just drop your belly and tilt your gaze up. Don't force it. And exhale, round the spine, looking towards your navel. Inhale, begin again. And exhale, press that breath out entirely. And I'm going to let you have some freedom with this and listen to your body and go with the flow. Inhaling and exhaling, even pressing into the shins, the tops of the feet, so you can arch the spine taller. I love to walk my hands out a little bit further away from my shoulders and find cat-cow, and even roll into my hips, sweeping them into a circle one way, and eventually seeing how that feels the opposite direction. Maybe even sink your hips towards the earth, extending the arms for an upward facing dog and gazing over one shoulder and peeking over the other. Pressing back to tabletop. You're going to plant your left foot outside of your left hand for a modified lizard variation. And same thing, I'm going to let you go free and find this on your own. But we're going to open up our shoulders here by lifting up our left hand and traveling it into a circle. Now notice that your hand orientation is going to switch up. So when you sweep that hand up, that palm faces away from you. And then it faces towards you when you release down. So just noticing that space. And then I love to bend my elbow and press my arm back. I wish I knew more about anatomy, but more specifically terms, but this is really opening up our pectoral muscles. I think that wing and the shoulder back behind us. Let me know if it's working for you too, because my shoulders are definitely feeling it. And then go ahead and plant both of those hands inside of your foot and stay in find some freestyle, some flow that serves you to even many options spaces that can happen in this space, or again, just stay where you are. But if you like, remember how sink the hips back for a half-seated split variation. You explore in different depths, but the body tells you. My body will tell you where it wants to go. Maybe even finding a bind. Go ahead and release that left foot behind you, back to tabletop as we move through the other side. So sweep the right leg outside of the right hand. You're going to begin to find circles with your right hand, forward and back behind you. I'm even incorporating my legs, so every time I tilt forward, my hips hinge back just a tad. Noticing my hand orientation switches up. So every time I lift and rise, it faces away from me. And as I lower, it's towards my face. And then don't forget to bend that elbow back, pressing the arm back behind you. This is just something new that I've never done before, and it feels incredible. And this is what I mean by listening to your body. It's going to take you into spaces you didn't even know you could get in. Now I'm just exploring, leaning my weight forward and back, breathing into my hip space or wherever you feel sensation. And go ahead and return back to tabletop. And we're going to slow it down even more by finding child's pose, extending those arms out in front of you, sinking the hips back behind you. Perhaps a block underneath your forehead. If not, and it touches, a brow massage. That always feels amazing. And go ahead and prop yourself back up to a tabletop position. We're going to lower down to a push-up. Release onto our bellies. Once you arrive, extend your arms back behind you and let your right or left ear take the mat. And release the hips a little bit deeper by sweeping them side to side. And tuck your toes underneath and pick up your thighs to extend your legs even longer back behind you. We're going to get into the shoulders just a little bit more. In this one, for sure, you will feel it. And I taught this in my class, and I told them to throw that block when they were done. And that was an indicator that it worked. So you're going to extend your arms out in front of you, grabbing a hold of the block. Take a breath in and exhale. Left hand sweeps behind you with the block as the right hand catches. So we're finding some circles here, sweeping the arm back, letting the other hand catch as you extend it forward. And what you do on one side, you're going to try it on the other. Reverse, reverse. And it's okay if those feet come away from the earth and hover, but if it's compromising the low back, press them back down and apply pressure. And just like I told my students, when you're done, throw that block away, let it go. We are finished with shoulders, I believe. Oh, no, we're not. Extend your arms out in front of you and bend at the elbow so the shoulder blades kiss. And do this 2-3 times. Or if you're like, nah, sis, that's enough. I feel you, no sweat. Eventually, we're going to make our way onto our back to where we started this whole journey to begin with in shavasana, corpse pose. As you lower down, allow your eyes to close and maybe place one hand on your heart and your belly to find connection with yourself and notice how that breath just flows, neutral. This mid-afternoon yoga reset flow, that's a lot. It can be practiced at any time. Doesn't have to be in the afternoon. That's just when I personally practiced myself. But take a reset off of your mat too, especially if you notice that you're just moving, and don't even have time to breathe. Be with yourself, even if it's for 2, 3, 4, 10, 20 minutes. The longer, obviously, the better. But take care of yourself, and so much light and love. Until next time, peace.